Good morning again, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a story to you, a little bit different than my usual videos. This is going to be a fictional story based on experiences I've had, historical, actual experiences, but the people in this story are fictional. So, two identical twins, I'm going to jump right in. Two twins are born, separated at birth. Same hardware, if you will, it's one way to look at twins. But they have different software. Right off the bat, they're being raised by different families. In fact, one of them finds themselves in a well-to-do household with a lot of resources, a lot of opportunities. And the other twin goes into foster care. Whatever circumstances lead up to that. So it is observed without interference by the narrator. Someone who is over and outside the story, observing, and who probably could interfere with it or influence it, but has a personal penchant for non-interference. This person observes these two twins and how their lives unfold, and begins talking to a friend, a fellow person outside the system, saying, look how their lives are changing because of their locations, because of their circumstances. The other person says, nah, there are no victims, and if somebody wants to be successful, they will be successful. If they do what they need to do, if they're proper, nothing can stop them. You can't keep a good man down. To which the first observer says, I disagree. The road is much longer. There are a lot more challenges and adversaries. Staying healthy becomes much harder. And these two observers continue to observe. Let's see what happens. So the twin born to the wealthy household is arguably less happy, but is economically more successful in early adulthood. We're fast forwarding a little bit. They go to a good school. They get married. They have a good job, good career, a lot of friends. And the twin that was born to, and then put into foster care, had a harder time. Dropped out of school, and had a lot of, you might call them enemies, people who were frictional growing up, as things happen in less economically well-to-do areas. Turns out this twin found himself in an altercation one day at the same age as the other one, early adulthood, 20, 21, whatever, down by the tracks, the railroad tracks, and was accosted by some rivals, because in this place where he grew up, this kind of thing was common. And knowing this, not being silly, he had learned to defend himself, at least a little bit, as best he could. And he came on this day, to the best of his wisdom, with some kind of weapon, and used it. He used it on this day. And he avoided getting beaten, but he ended up killing one of the guys, and went to jail for it. Not only to go to jail, but he was sentenced to a long prison term, because it was considered murder. And he got out eventually, 10 years later, and by then the other twin had several rental properties and was doing very well. Had a business. Had his kids were in college already, and he had, not not an unhappy life, but kind of a boring life, he thought. And the twin who had, gotten out of prison and was now working and trying to get back on the road towards success, found himself unable to, gain any kind of decent paying job at that point. And eventually, the well-to-do twin retired, had grandkids and a large estate, a legacy. Was not entirely memorable or historical, impactful, but neither was the other one, unfortunately. The twin who had gone to prison ended up with some serious health problems after he took a job in a factory where conditions were not too sanitary. He was exposed to some carcinogens and ended up dying of cancer. And it's not a happy story, but our observers are going to review. The first observer, who was skeptical that they would have equal opportunities, spoke first. He says, "Well, there you have it. Circumstances count for a lot." To which the other one said, "Well, maybe, but I still maintain that there are no victims. And if he tried hard enough, if he worked, and if he made the right choices, the poorer twin would have done better." Well, better or worse, the final analysis shows that where you're born matters a lot. But the bigger issue, the bigger point, the moral of the story, if you ask me, is that people who forget how important circumstances are might be the biggest problem we have. This affects everything. This affects justice, it affects job opportunities, it affects families, communities. People who are callous and forget that being born with opportunities and resources, being supported and loved, just being, at peace because people aren't literally attacking you every step, it gives you an advantage. The road becomes very long when you don't have that stuff. It's a fact. Anyway, not a happy story, but it's a real story. Can't all be happy stories, can they? Reach out with your own story to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.